My name's Christian Hull. This is Complete Drivel. It's a podcast where I talk shit, but I'm just going to put talking shit aside for the first half of this episode. It could be the entire episode. I don't know how long I'm actually going to waffle on about this, but it's starting to get interesting, and that is the current same-sex marriage debate that is raging on in Australia right now. I'm reading people's comments on a lot of videos that I've posted on Facebook. Now, a lot of them genuinely believe, well, they have what they perceive to be genuinely good reasons as to vote no. Now, in my mind, there is no reason to vote no. There is no logical, justifiable reason. You can vote no because you believe in some crazy shit, but as every day goes past, I've tried to understand and accept those people who vote no, but you know what? It's come to a point now where I just can't do it anymore. I don't understand why you're voting no, and I don't accept it. I'm becoming one of those people who, you know what, am I angry at no voters? Well, I'm angry at the no voters who give me their reasons because they're bullshit reasons. They don't make sense. I just read a comment. Let me see if I've got it. So, I read this from a gentleman whose profile photo is simply "vote no" in red text. Where did I see this? Okay. No, what did he say? He said here, he wrote a comment about, I can't remember what it was. I deleted it because I was like, this is the most bullshit, stupid comment I've ever read. It doesn't make any sense. And then I was like, dear anyone commenting, if you post comments that are very hate-filled and they're shit and they make no sense, I will delete them. Which is a polite way of saying, if you comment that you're voting no, I'll delete you. Which I guess I'm not really accepting everyone's opinion. And I think this is an issue where the yes opinion is the correct opinion and is the only opinion. And I normally am really good at putting myself in other people's shoes, but because this issue affects me so deeply, I just can't see why you'd vote no. Anyway, this guy then commented and he said, it's disappointing when entertainers, he called me an entertainer, so he finds me entertaining. Thank you. It's disappointing when entertainers decide to be proxy politicians. However, I will ask a question which is at the forefront of this debate. Do the yes voters on here believe religious institutions should have the right to refuse to perform a same-sex marriage if it contradicts their religious views? Should churches be able to say, no, we disagree with that? You know what I say? Churches can get fucked if they're going to do that. No. You know what? I was very adamant that, churches were their own group. They could do what they want. You know what? Fuck you, religion. Get fucked. And I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people by saying this, but don't you preach love and acceptance and then tell me you'll refuse to marry me. There are a lot of churches that have stood by the same-sex marriage debate and said they are voting yes. And that is what I believe a true church to be. A church that says, I'm voting yes, we should love and accept everyone. And there are a lot of churches across Australia doing that. But the churches and the religious people who say, no, I don't think in any way, shape or form you understand your religion, because all religions across the world preach love and acceptance, and you are not loving and accepting. You really need to assess what's going on in your head if you can't tolerate homosexuality. And don't give me that it's in the Bible, because the Bible was thousands of years ago. Okay, women weren't allowed to vote. Oh God, when was that? 1850 that it passed? Right? And this is what I said to this gentleman should religious institutions refuse? No. What if I said to you religious institutions decided to bring back segregation? What would you say to that? Obviously you'd say no because you're not a racist bigot, right? So what if religious institutions said no women allowed? You know, and they used to, FYI. It was a men-only thing. Lots of things were, but we modernised, and the church needs to fucking modernise. And I'm sick of this bullshit. Oh, don't tell us to change. Oh, we don't want to change. You're not loving and accepting of our religious institutions. No, of course we're not, because they're back in the fucking Stone Ages. Oh, nothing makes me more angry than shitty arguments like that. Don't you tell me that I'm so fired up, right? Religious institutions. Now, a lot of them are accepting and a lot of them are not accepting, okay? And I think the ones that are not accepting are not truly living by what they preach. Also, religious institutions do not contribute back. Well, look, no, that's not true. Church groups really do contribute to the community, but religious groups and big, you know, I'm not going to name names here, but there are ones that profit, okay? And their heads of the church make a shit ton of money. They live in incredible wealth and they don't pay tax because they're a religious institution, okay? They need to be paying tax. You don't tell us how to live our life and then not pay tax. I know paying tax is a shitty argument to make against religions, but I know people that give 15% of their wage to their religion because that's what God tells us. Where the fuck did that? I don't want to piss off people who are religious, but you know what? It's getting really hard to not get angry. You know, oh, it's against my religion. Well, change religion. I just hate it's against my religion as an excuse, because religion really needs to modernise, and I just hate it. What else was I going to say? And then I read another comment that was from a father, and I made a video about this one on YouTube, and it was a father who had young kids who said, I'm voting no simply because this marriage debate is bigger than just accepting same-sex marriage. It means, you know, kids will be taught homosexuality in schools. He was pretty staunchly against that. And then I made the argument that, well, what's wrong with kids being taught about it in school? Like, they're not taught to be homosexual. You're born that way. You're born straight. You're born gay. You're born bi. You're born with the wrong gender. You're born with these things. And we can't simply just ignore it because we don't feel comfortable with it. We need to start accepting it. And again, this debate isn't about whether we're teaching same-sex marriage in schools. It's about, should same-sex marriage be allowed? And yes, obviously it should. And then I also really believe that homosexuality should be taught in schools. I mean, it would just alleviate so many issues in young gay children who don't feel that they belong. Because you get a bunch of kids in a room, they're all innocent, and you start telling them about heterosexuality and how a man loves a woman and a woman loves a man, right? Now, one of the young kids is like, well, you know, I don't feel this way. They grow up not feeling like, I don't love a woman. And so they feel different and they feel a bit outcast and they don't know what's going on up here, and they think it's all wrong and their brains aren't functioning correctly and they freak out. Or we could get the innocent children in a room and tell them that love can be whatever you want it to be. You can love a man or you can love a woman. And then they will grow up and they'll go, oh, I like guys. I am normal. Or I like girls. I am normal. I am the same as him, who he likes guys. What is it? What does it matter? What does it actually matter? They're not... Oh, my God. And the ad where it's like, my children were made to kiss each other. No, they weren't. My son had to kiss another boy. No, he didn't. It's just such bullshit. And I hate the bullshit. And it pisses me off. And I'm just checking to see if my mate has followed it up with a comment. Doesn't appear that he has. It says before here, this is only part of the reason for many no voters. This is a watershed moment for Australian culture, and people will vote accordingly. They will vote for freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom as a parent to nurture and mould your children's morals and not have them brainwashed by the state's socialist agenda. Okay, well now I'm realising this guy's a crackpot. Let me go into his profile here. Well, okay. Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the profile. Oh, God. No, there's a lot of, like... There's just a lot of shit on here.
Or an updated video. I'll try and keep this as...
Okay, hold on. Sorry, I know this is really boring. What has she said?
Try and keep this as clear and short and concise as I can, but basically I wanted to speak to you about why I have entered into the marriage debate, something that I was not planning to do when I first posted my first video about safe schools. I didn't realise how
safe schools. I am not listening to bullshit about safe schools and this marriage debate. Take your safe schools debate, stick it up your anus, and then jump off a bridge. Because we're not talking about safe schools in this stupid marriage equality debate. I will say this as clear as day. Safe schools, get fucked. Okay? Because we're not talking about safe schools. We have to look at this as what it simply is should we allow same-sex marriage? Yes or no? Not should we have a safe schools program? No, this has nothing to do with what we're voting on. We are getting too far ahead of ourselves. And if people are voting no for other reasons, get fucked. You're not voting no to safe schools. You're not voting yes to same schools. You're voting yes or no to should same-sex marriage exist in Australia. And if you're voting no, it's taking a lot of energy not to just go to town on you. Oh, I feel like I need to tell some sort of funny story at the end of the podcast. What have I got written down? Anything? Oh my God, yes. So my mum, right, stopped texting me. She now messages me via Facebook Messenger, which freaks the shit out of me because she's like 64. She's 64. No 64-year-old mother should be communicating to her children via Facebook Messenger. Isn't that weird? She's so youthful. She's like so down with the youth. I thought that was kind of cute. And she messaged me, "Hi, hope you're well. Love you." Oh, I actually didn't reply and I haven't called her. So she's really lucked out with such a great child, hasn't she? I wanted to give a shout out to these two girls I bumped into one weekend when I was buying, I think I was buying like a big giant plate of Chinese food, and I didn't get their names. They work at RMK Shoes at South Wharf DFO in Melbourne. You two girls, you know who you are because you said, well, you listened to the podcast. So, hi, shout outs to you. This is do I want to talk about this? This is a juicy one. I got a message from a young gentleman who thinks his dad is gay. Let me go in here. And he wanted to know how he could approach the situation. Like, sorry, really prepared here. I'm just going to go into my messages. Right, what has he said? So he's almost 18 years old. He says he's straight. He's not confused, but he suspects his dad is gay. His parents have split up, and he's just so certain. Oh, he found Grindr on his dad's phone. Oh, and a bit of homosexual material. Okay. So he said his dad's being really secretive about it, but he would really like for his dad to just be honest and to come out if he is gay. It's looking more and more like it. Not be secretive. Oh, that's really nice. He wants his dad to be happy. I mean, I don't know. Well, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? You can't. I just don't know. I just don't think you should say anything. Because it's one thing to be married for so long, to have like fully grown children, and then to have to deal with, a bit of a life change. And I think you need to take things really slowly. You can't just rush him to make a decision, because once he admits it to you, that then the fear becomes, will anyone else find out? And then he it's just like you're being in a room. You're in a room and you're on your own. But you're very happy because you've got your phone, got Grindr. Oh my God, this is my life. I'm in my room on Grindr, right? The next step isn't a little one. It's literally opening the door and coming out to the rest of the world, right? That's what it feels like. It might just be, he tells you and your brother, but it's not. It's once you admit to that, it's the whole world. That's what it feels like. So I don't know how you handle that. I think you've just got to be supportive and let him know that maybe if you've got any gay friends, that you're really supportive of them, and he'll be able to see how supportive you are with that, and it might help him. But it may not. He might just be terrified because he's your father. So then maybe at some point you do have to sit him down and tell him, because he's, in his mind, he might feel like he's the one that's supposed to guide and lead the way, and he can't when he's, potentially he's gay, and he might feel that he'll disappoint you. Oh, you are in a tough situation. But maybe you do. Maybe this is hard. Maybe you do just say something. I would finish school first. Do that. And then sit him down and talk with him. Ooh. But, yeah, that's a tough one. Anyway. Until next time, this was a real preachy one and a real bitter, angry podcast. But it has to be said, we're currently in the middle of the marriage debate. There is 7 weeks until we find out the result. So that's going to be an interesting one. Apparently it's 60% yes. 50%, no, 40. Anyway, I don't know. I think it's 55. It was what I saw, 55% yes, 11% undecided, and 35% no. Is that it? No. I'm not good with maths. Anyway, thanks for listening.